Welcome back, everybody. This is Coach Mike McKay. I'm excited today to have David Belman from David Belman Homes with us. David is a multiple award-winning builder, second generation builder, developer, and realtor, past president of everything it seems like. So Metropolitan Builders Association in 2016, Wisconsin Builders Association in 2017, the director at the National Association of Home Builders. So David's received numerous awards, including 2021 Wisconsin Builder of the Year, 2017 Waukesha Freeman Citizen of the Year, top choice for Best Builder Milwaukee 6 times in a row, and 2020 Emerging Leader Award for Waukesha County, and was recently inducted into the Wisconsin Builders Association's Hall of Fame. I share all that with you because David knows what he's talking about. He's also an Amazon best-selling author for his book, Leadership Growth Hacks. And something I hope we get to talk about today, I'm a veteran, and David is unique in that he's helped build and provide 7 mortgage-free homes to wounded war heroes. And that's something that obviously hits close to the heart for me. So he also hosts a podcast called The Home Building Hero, which has been downloaded over 415,000 times. So please join me in welcoming David. Welcome, David.
Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate the warm introduction. And sorry to make you read all that stuff. It had a lot going on in the last few years.
It's all good. So second generation leadership. Tell me a little bit about your story. How did you get roped into the family business? Some people don't like to do that, and other people love it and thrive on it. So,
yeah, for me, it was I literally grew up in the home building business. It was in the basement of our house, and so dinner conversations. We had people walk up to the door sometimes, and you're supposed to go to the basement for the office stuff. But you know how that goes. Your home isn't very sacred when it's your business too. But and then one day it was a Saturday. I was 9 years old, and I wanted my dad's attention really bad, and I said something I shouldn't have, and I found myself on a job site with a broom and a shovel, and he handed it to me and said, "Start at the top and work your way to the bottom, and I'll be back for you in 2 hours." And left me out in the middle of nowhere on a job site sweeping out a house.
Nice.
And I kind of learned I learned the value of hard work. I learned that I didn't want to do that the rest of my life, basically. And so, although he paid me and in that, I learned to love the building industry. And then when I was 17 years old, my mom said, "Okay, you're graduating high school. You're going to get your real estate license next." So, signed up for courses, and I started taking real estate classes, and I started selling houses when I was 17 years old. She's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're working the model on the weekend too." And it must have been pretty desperate for a salesperson to hire a 17-year-old kid out of high school. But yeah, I learned how to sell houses. So I put myself through college full time selling houses, and then got involved with building a few homes and then subdivisions, and did the whole thing after that.
Wow, that's awesome. Obviously, you like it.
It's fun. It's challenging. It's every day is different. A lot of variety in the job. And the best part is obviously seeing the product that you work so hard with your clients on come to fruition in full 3D in front of you, and seeing them be excited and get the keys to that new home.
Yeah. What's a funny story your family tells about you that you'd be willing to share with people?
Well, probably when I was little. I guess I was trying to think about that when you gave me that question. And I guess what I would say is I was a stubborn little kid. So I think I was 3 years old or something, and I got into trouble for something. I don't even know what I did. And I got punished. I didn't like it. So they made me sit on this, and I remember it was an avocado green little vinyl chair, swivel chair in the kitchen. And I sat in the chair, and they're like, you got to sit in this chair until you're ready to behave yourself or whatever. And I was mad that I was getting punished. So I was like, I'll show them. So I just sat in the chair, and they're like, "Okay, are you done yet?" I'm like, "Nope." And then they're like, "Are you?" And so I think I sat there for like 5 or 6 hours. And then I think I finally fell asleep, and then they must have just put me to bed or something. But they were like, "Holy crap, you just sat there the whole time." And I was like, "Nope, I'm not done. I'm still punishing myself." So
That's awesome.
Yep.
So tell us about how you came about as a second generation. So how old were you when you decided you could do this? What caused you to take over leadership?
Yeah, so I was kind of groomed to be in the family business, I guess. So there wasn't ever really like a, oh, okay, David's in charge now moment. But um, it started, like I said, after I got done with college and I was selling homes, and then my dad's like, you should, start doing some building. So I bought a lot and built a home, and I have a brother in the business, so we incorporated a separate building company. And so the idea was to phase down my father's company and then build up our
Mhm.
company. And so we did that for about 15 years. And then unfortunately, my work ethic was different than my brother's, and our vision was very different. And so we got to the point where it wasn't working anymore. And it was probably the most difficult thing I ever had to go through. But I had to basically fire my brother and buy him out of the company, and kind of also tell my parents that we were doing this. And it was pretty challenging, tough time, but it needed to happen. And after that happened, a lot of really good things happened within the business because didn't have to deal with the the mental part of it that was dragging me down. And it felt like a cloud lifted and all these great things happened. And kind of after that's when all these other things that we kind of mentioned, like Operation Flying Home and all the awards and all the things I've done in the industry, all that started to really kind of blossom.
I mean, partnerships are hard. Just being 6 months out of one myself, and family partnerships are uniquely hard.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
I've changed the business a lot in that although started as a family business, I'm the only one there, only Belman there now. So it runs like a
yeah,
company now. And it's good because it's like, I like going to work. I want to go to work. I enjoy the people I work with, and I don't have to deal with the drama. I don't want the drama in my office. We want to get stuff
yeah,
done. We want to take care of our customers, um, create the ultimate building experience one customer at a time. And that's what we do.
that's awesome. Can you say more about the Wounded Heroes project? Like,
Sure.
how did you get involved? And
Yeah, so that's a good question. Kind of around that time when I was going through all of that with the family business, I was invited to a, industry event. It was at the International Builder Show. It was in Las Vegas, and one of my vendors was like, "Hey, I want to take you to this concert," and I was like, "Okay, I'll go." And they were doing a benefit for this organization called Operation Finally Home. And at first, I thought, "Oh, this is kind of like." They're gonna bombard me like I'm a builder here, like I got put here for a reason, and I'm gonna
sure.
get harassed to donate or something, right? But they told this story about a veteran who they showed a video of him, and he was gonna serve his entire life. He's like, this is all I want to do. Want to be in the Marines. And then he told the story of how he was serving, and he was in a vehicle, and an IED blasted and blew up the vehicle, crushed his legs in it, and they were trapped inside the wreckage. And the vehicle was also starting on fire, and there was all sorts of ammunition in it, and the whole thing was going to blow up.
Oh,
So he knew he had to do
jeez.
something. So he yanked his mangled legs from underneath the wreckage, and he used his mangled legs to put the fire out. And he had just enough energy to crawl out of the vehicle before he blacked out. And he saved his whole battalion by doing that, but unfortunately, he had to have his legs amputated. And heartbreaking story, obviously, but the worst part was he had 6 kids at home that he had
Ouch.
to now take care of. So he now lost his job, he lost his legs, and almost lost hope. And they found him. They gave him a brand new mortgage-free home. Totally changed his life. He had some new focus. He had time to be with his family. Didn't have to worry about the bills. And they show all this, and then 30 seconds later, out he comes walking out on stage. He's got shorts on with his metal legs and big USA shirt on, and got the crowd all pumped up. And I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. And how can we be part of this? So about a year later, we were working on it and figuring it out, and we decided to commit to doing one here in Wisconsin. And we did one, and it went so well. We said, let's do another one. And then I think somewhere in the way, God intervened because um, we had a family that we were trying to help, and the site we had wouldn't work for them, so we had to pass on them, and it was a very difficult decision to pass on them. But I was sitting in the office as president of the Builders Association with the executive officer. Her name was Christine, and the phone rings, and there was a little article in the paper about this project. And her neighbor calls and says, "Hey, I want to hear more about this veteran thing. I saw your picture in the paper." And she's like, "Well, it's funny that the builder's right here." And so we get on a conference call, and he's like, "Well, how much money do you need raised to do this project?" And I'm like, "Well, we probably need to raise about 110,000 to complete this house." He goes, "Well, if you got that fully funded, what would happen?" And I'm like, "I do another one." And he's like, "Well, that's exactly what we want to hear. We're going to give you that money." And
Nice.
we had just literally broke ground on it. So we're like, okay. We got on the phone with Operation Fly Home, their planning team, and said, "Hey, this build's fully funded. And that other family, we're going to go help them next." And that just really kickstarted everything. And now I've been a part of 7 of them, and I've built 6 of them with my company.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you
Oh, it's my pleasure.
for
It's the
helping
least we can
people.
do for our veterans.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing that when you have a cause like that, we have a saying that life happens for us, not to us. That guy called up your vice president sitting in your office. So you're right. I mean, the universe works in the ways that it wants to work.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have planned that out any more. I mean, just the way that happened, that he just happened to see this one article, and I happened to be in her office at the same time, and I had that
Yeah.
position at the Builders Association, and so on and so forth. It was just like that was one of those things where it told me like this is happening for a reason, and when I hear those or see those signs, that I need to keep pushing forward, even though it's difficult. It's to give away a house is a huge mental hurdle and undertaking in and of itself. And so
Yeah.
to be able to do one, but then to next, just say, "Hey, we're going to try and do this every year now." It's just been amazing how that's changed.
That's huge. So tell us a little bit more about Belman Homes. I'm assuming fully custom. Like, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing.
Sure. So we are, the roots of the company started, it was a real estate and land development company that my father started. And then in 1981, he started building homes. And I, took a lot of the things that he's done. A lot of the very key principles are still with the company. We still hand build our homes stick by stick. We still use custom cabinets. It's hand finished. Probably the best thing is that we have really awesome trades. These are people that have been with us multiple generations. So we have, third
Oh,
generations of craftsmen working on our homes. So we have really, really consistent quality, and we use the same guys over and over again. So that's what's nice, is we know that we can deliver a high quality, consistent product. But we also do the land development. So a lot of times we're doing everything, where we do the subdivision, we build the home, and then we do the real estate part of that transaction. So we can really do the whole thing turnkey, which is really nice. As the market shifted after COVID, so have we. So we've been really working a lot more on custom homes, because that's where the market is. So we're doing a lot more high-end projects. We're doing some lake homes and some really nice. I got a 6-bedroom or 6-bathroom home that we're just about to start too. So it's a pretty big house. So yeah, we've got a lot of neat stuff going on, and we can either take plans that we already have and change it, or we can draw something brand new for them and make it a one of a kind.
still turnkey, or are people bringing lots to you now?
Yeah, we do both. I mean, it used to be about half and half of my business. So half was like kind of a turnkey spec house, and the other half was custom. It's or semi-custom. It's probably a little bit more like 70% semi-custom right now, just because the projects I have a lot of condo properties right now. So if
Okay.
people want a traditional single-family home, we almost have to do it on a lot that they have.
Smart to follow the market though. I mean, especially after COVID and people are different these days for whatever
People are
reasons.
different. The market's different. The supply chain's different.
Sure.
Everything is much more challenging than it ever was.
So tell us the story. Like, we know that people generally don't do all this on their own. So tell us the story of someone who pushed you or inspired you into something, the impact that it had. I mean, obviously a huge impact with Wounded Warriors for Wounded
Yep.
Heroes home building project. But how about a day to
Yeah.
day? Somebody told me to get going and I did it.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, first and foremost, obviously my parents were a big influence, but when I was kind of going through the challenge of taking over the business and kind of separating and reformatting, I did hire a coach. I had a business coach who's actually action coach, guy back in the day, and
Yeah. Who is
I,
that? Can I
his name
ask?
was Chris Panassa. I don't know if
Oh,
you know
got
Chris
it.
or not.
Yep.
So we kind of became close through that process and worked with him for a while. He moved off to a different company. I went with him and stayed with him for a few years, and he was really helping, me transform the business, but really was transforming my mindset first. And you don't necessarily get to that point of deciding to give a house away for free unless you've done some mental work. I think maybe I need some more mental work after doing that. But yeah, I started to just have a yes mindset and say, I'm going to take these opportunities as they come. And I think because I've put myself out there, a lot on LinkedIn, I obviously share all this stuff. I get a lot of opportunities, which is nice to do different things. And, that's kind of how you want to get to, like when you're a business owner, when you get on the short list for stuff, that means you're doing something right. And so, I look at any opportunity as a chance to uh, follow my calling, I guess would be the best way to
Right.
put it.
Yeah. So what's your biggest learning so far? I mean, you're still a young person, so as the
Um,
owner of a business.
yeah, I would say two things. It's the first is you're never done learning, so you should always be learning and growing, no matter what. And then the other thing is, as I kind of alluded to earlier, with the mindset and having a mindset to be, willing to take on new opportunities, to challenge yourself, to push yourself. And so I wrote a book during COVID when things were a little bit slower. I'm always doing something. So that was like, oh, I've got this time. I've always
Sure.
wanted to write a book. So I wrote my leadership growth hacks, and it does talk a lot about the mindset piece and working on yourself just as much as you do anything else. Because if your mindset's right and your frame of mind's correct, you get a lot of things done. So I published that book, and that's been really great, especially for younger people. I've mentored some younger folks and given them that book, and it's been helpful to them to kind of do some of the things that I didn't learn in school or learn anywhere else. So,
Sure. So what's your biggest challenge that you've overcome? What's that been, and who's helped you get through that?
yeah, well, I think it was taking over the business and going through that, because that was very difficult on me personally. I you go through a process like that where you're separating, especially from the family element of the business, and everybody has their opinions. And the one thing that I didn't want, there's some people that are saying bad things about me, and I didn't like that. It goes back to that stubborn little kid sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the bad guy, but I'm like, well, I'm going to prove to everybody that this was the right decision. So I just buckled down and worked really hard, and you could see the results. The business took off, the awards came, we started doing these Operation Filing Home projects. And I wanted to make sure that people could see that, um, you know, this was the right decision. And I think it was based on performance, but, I think that was the biggest challenge to overcome. And, it definitely hardened me to be able to do all these things.
Well, owning a business is not gentle work. I mean, I've had to coach a guy through cutting his brother out, and it was brutal. And yet the same outcome for them, the guy's clear and growing, and his goals are going to be accomplished now. But I'm no way to shortchange how much work you had to go through, especially with a family member. So it's
Yeah. And
amazing that you got through that.
I'm sure I wasn't perfect through the process, but I tried to really take the emotion out of it and focus on this is what needs to be done. And in the housing industry is super susceptible to recessions and things like that. So, this
Sure.
was kind of going on right after, um, you know, so you had like 2007 to 2012 was pretty much a terrible
Right.
era in housing. And so, a lot of businesses were struggling, and it was like, if we don't deal with this, we aren't going to make it. And so my my impetus for doing this is I want this is going to be my business for the next 30 years of my life, and if I don't do
Mhm.
something about it, it's not going to be around. So this has to be done.
Yeah. All right. On an upbeat note, what's the next big thing for you and your business over the next 1 to 3 years or so? Your biggest growth opportunity?
Sure. So I have two things I'm, going to be working on here. The first one is I'm concerned about housing affordability, and I look at younger buyers not being able to afford homes, and the home ownership rates declining, and I see the cost of regulations and all the inefficiencies in building, and it's frustrated me to no end. So I've kind of gotten to the point where I've had enough, and just talking about regulation costs isn't enough. I've been working on solutions. So I've been actually writing a white paper on how to fix housing affordability, and I'm still kind of in the middle of all of that, working on it. Been asked to speak on it already a bunch of times. So that's something that's in the works as kind of a side project. And then the bigger project for me is we do have a really nice plot of land here in Waukesha that we're looking at doing a totally different product on. So again, for younger buyers, and they're going to be smaller lots, smaller homes than what we've normally built, and we're looking to do it more efficiently and really take that process online and make it
Wow.
just like how you buy a car, so that it's more efficient. You can kind of go on there and pick the floor plan, pick the colors, and see it all kind of come together, and even get it to the point where it'll be a price. And we may not even have met the person face to face yet, and they already kind of know what lot and what package they're going to have. So I think that's kind of the future of home building and shopping. And there's the technology is starting to catch up to the point where I was going to do this like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was like I would have had to basically create the technology, and um, and now the technology is starting to become available at a more mass consumption. So we're going to be kind of trying to do that in terms of the entire project.
That's amazing. And lastly, so you're a best-selling author and you wrote Growth Hacks. So what are the top two pieces of advice you have for business owners who are trying to do this all by themselves?
Well, from that book, I do talk a lot about creating a culture in your company. I think that's really important. And I learned that through coaching. I didn't really learn that through school. So kind of went through my process of how to create a winning culture in your company. Because if you have that, I would say culture is kind of like you're playing a board game with a 3-year-old. If you ever played a board game with a young kid, like you can go over the rules with them, right? And they're like, okay, and they'll follow
Yeah.
the rules. And then as soon as they play shoots and ladders, and you're gonna fall down the ladder or something, they're like, oh wait, no, but I did this instead, or they try and change the rules. And everyone else, your customers, try and do that. So you have to have really clear rules of the game, and the culture is really part of that. So I think that's the big thing. And then I think the other thing again is the mindset piece of constantly trying to not only get yourself better by learning and reading and growing, but then just being a positive person and being a positive influence, and having kind of the daily affirmations, the mindset, all the good stuff that you need to do. Because if your mind's not into it or your mind's not right, the rest of it's just not going to come together.
That's right. It's a game of 6 inches of real estate between your ears when we play the game of
Absolutely,
business. David, it
absolutely,
sounds
yeah.
like
And
you've had
it,
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh no, I mean, it's just it. That's what made the biggest difference for me in my life, is when I started to focus more on that instead of just focusing on what do I need to do today. It changed my life.
And this was not on what I prepped you for, but is there a question that I should have asked you that you want to answer?
I always ask that on my podcast. So, no, I guess what I would say is if anyone wants to learn more like about Operation Finally Home, for example, you can go to their website, operationfinallyhome.org. They actually are in like 32 different states. So I'm the main builder here in Wisconsin, but they do projects all over the country. And, if everybody gives a little, we can do a lot. And the money goes really far because we get a lot of the material neighbor donated, and then we raise funds for the rest. So anything that people put into this goes directly into the build and makes a big difference. To help veterans. You can even pick a specific family if you want to help. Otherwise, if you're in Wisconsin, you wanted to go to the Wisconsin projects, just put Wisconsin right on there. It goes right into our projects, and we use that to pay for the things we can't get donated. So unfortunately, building a house is not a cheap date.
No, I agree. But we will put a link below the video when we post it. And so I want to say, David, thank you for being part of the interview process today and sharing your experiences as a business owner. And it's pretty amazing. Congratulations on the Builders Hall of Fame as well.
Yeah, that was quite a surprise. I was like, don't I have to be older for this? But it was really cool to do that and had my family there, and that means a lot.
All right. Well, thanks again for being on the show.
My pleasure.